I have a problem where I've been, like we've all taken improv class, and I think that my improvisation and my comedy skills are a real plus, and I like to show that off. So sometimes instead of improving during the script, which you're not really supposed to do for a musical audition or a play audition. You don't change the lines, but you can add something towards the end and put a tag on it to show them that that you're playful, that you thought about this and stuff. And so
that was completely unnecessary, that entire.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
So I was auditioning for Matilda, and I was playing the Mrs. Trunchbull, which is sometimes played by a man, sometimes it's played by a woman.
The evil principal.
The evil principal.
Okay.
And I felt that the character was a lot like Hitler. And so at the end of the scene, the Trunchbull was screaming at the kids. And so I screamed the lines, and then I went, Spitzendienst! And I did that.
That is.
And they were like, oh. And I was like, well, I was like, I don't know, this character reminds me of Hitler. Am I right? And they were like, which I'm not wrong. The character.
You should have shouted, I'm Jewish in that moment, and it would have been fine. That's why they didn't know.
Is that why?
That's why you're more comfortable with it than as you are.
Sure.
Because,
Because
you're Jewish. You're allowed.
Oh my
But
God.
they don't know right out the gate. They think you're Saudi Arabian.
Oh my God.
Improvisers.
I never even thought of that. I never even thought that they could think for a second that
I think that's
wasn't
why
Jewish.
there's a comfort to it.
Yeah.
That the regular person
They're
wouldn't
like,
have. I
oh
mean,
my
Chris
God,
is
their
not
faces.
representative of everyone's comfort just shouting
faces.
Hitler
Their
lines.
faces. And then I didn't realize it was even a bad thing. I thought it was funny until I told Chris.
Ooh. Yeah,
And
he
was
You
called me.
said Sig Heil in the
Yeah.
in a musical theater audition.
Yeah, he called me afterwards
Sig
and was like,
Heil.
"Hey, yeah," because I was like, "Oh, how'd it go?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did an improv at the end." And I'm always bucking up my friends. And he told me that story, and I was like, "That's not good, man. That's not
I
good."
love imagining a creative team though, like if they like love to, you're like, we really love Douglas, but he did do Sig Heil at the like imagining it between you and one other guy, and they're just like, the other guy did not do Sig Heil. So I guess we're gonna go with that.
But he got a call back.
Yeah.
yeah.
You got a call back.
I
for
did
it.
get a call back.
And you
I did
walked
get a
in
call.
that callback
Boom.
like,
You gotta lean in. You gotta lean in.
double down. It worked. You got the other
You got
callback.
me the callback.
I
man.
improvised. So there was a thing for a while where like you could not audition for a comedy commercial unless you had UCB training. That just became the lazy casting director. You must know comedy. And so what it did is it unleashed a lot of non-actors who had just taken improv to do a commercial audition. And there was one TV show that I did. It was called I Love You, but ... I lied. And it was on Lifetime, and it was very heavily improvised. So they'd give you like a scene, and you go in and improvise it. And these improvisers, so I had one where the scene was, I was apartment sitting for my friend who was really rich. I brought a woman back to this place, and she liked it. She wanted to come again. And so the scene was, my friend's now come home to his apartment, and I'm begging him, can you let me have the apartment just one more night so I can have sex with this woman? And so that's the scene. And he's supposed to be like, I don't know. That's it. We argue about it. So they're like, okay, go. I go, hey man, great apartment. I was wondering, and he goes, Inky? And I'm like, what? He goes, what happened to my pet octopus Inky I told you to watch after? And I was like, oh, brother,
God.
no. And I'm like, oh, he's fine. He's just taking a nap. I was wondering, he's like, no, he's not fine. He's not fine. And then he goes over and he picks it up and he goes, what happened to Inky? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. When Inky's fine, I grabbed it from him. I put him back in.
That
Look,
guy-
he's swimming again.
That guy's still wondering why he didn't get it.
Oh,
He's
that's
like,
so funny.
And so
He's
you
like,
get
I take
You
chances.
should have shot him and killed him and be like, all right, get me a new one. Like
and you get partnered with people, and it could be the worst because in theory, there was no way that they would look at that and go, well, that didn't go great. The way that he handled the whole Inky situation, I think he'd be great for the thing we actually wanted to see.
Yeah.
So you would just go in there and they would not have time to bring you back in with someone. And this was just the bullshit of of auditions that you could just get fucked
Yeah.
by that.
Well, that happened to me. It's happened to me many
One of my
times.
faves.
But because the problem is, you bring in a group of actors and you're like improvising. It becomes a pissing contest to see who can get the most FaceTime or
Who can talk about
who
an
can
octopus.
stand out. Yeah, exactly. And I started auditioning when I was a teenager. So I would audition for commercials, and I was like 18 for this new Verizon phone commercial or whatever. And we got called in a group of 4. And this was the final callback. So the full creative team was there, casting directors, director, ad agency, everybody. And we were running into the locker room after the big game. And they're like, okay, so, before you get to the lines, just improvise up top. It's homecoming. You just came in from the big game and you won. And we're like, okay, great. So action. So we run in and we're all like, yeah, awesome, great, wow, what a game. And this guy goes, hey, do you see Jenny up in the stands? And I was like, oh, yeah, for sure. He goes, man, that ass. God, I want to fuck her. and I was like, what? And so I look out to everybody, and there's a few people behind the table like gasping, and like the guy operating the camera's like trying not to laugh. And the director goes, okay, let's cut. Chris, you looked right in the camera. You got to keep rolling with this stuff. And I was like, wait, what? Me? Like, he just in a Verizon commercial said he wanted to fuck this woman, this teenager. And so we like started again, and like the guy didn't say that, because then he was like, and maybe don't swear this time.
Yeah.
But like the first note was like, Chris, you got to keep going.
It's the foundation of corporate improv.
Right.
Yeah, truly.
Chris.
Yeah.
That's
So I
so
walked
funny.
out of that room and they were like, well, that guy can't improvise. And it's like,
Yeah.
are we selling phones? What are we doing?
Oh, God, that's one of my
is
favorite
so
stories.
funny.
I did an acting class once, and it was like Meisner, and the whole thing with Meisner, for people listening, where you would take a scene and you play with repetition. So if someone says the line to you like, "You're not listening to me," you'd be like, "I'm not listening to you. You're not listening to me. I'm not listening to you." And it was a Neil Simon. It was The Odd Couple,
Mhm.
and we were doing a scene from The Odd Couple, and it was with like a young, like wants to be Marlon Brando actor, and I'm the nebbyish one, and he goes, he goes, "You're not listening to me." I'm like, "I'm not listening to you. You're not listening to me. You fucking." And he said the F word. And I started laughing because it was insane. And the teacher was like, "You see, you're not in the scene. You're not in the scene. If he had said that to you in real life, you'd be upset." And I was like, "That's insane that you thought in the Neil Simon play
Right.
I
The
should
Odd
just
Couple.
go along with it."
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
you wanted me
The
to repeat
foundation
it?
for every
You
sitcom
swing me
ever
in there?
created.
She's like, "You didn't repeat it. You got to repeat it. You're trapped.
That's a funny bit.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You got to repeat it.
You
gotta
got to
repeat
You got to
it.
repeat
You gotta
it."
repeat it.
It's
It's so stupid. I once my craziest audition story. I got called in for a J.C. Penney commercial with Ellen DeGeneres, and they were looking for it. The role was soprano elf, and I was like, "Are they looking for singers?" And it was like, "No, they like Tony Soprano elf." So I like didn't know what that meant. I got it late at night. I was at work. It was the next morning. So, I slicked my hair back with a black t-shirt, looked as Italian as I can. I'm Italian. I can say it. And so I show up, and I'm the youngest guy in the waiting room by 25 years. They all look like out of central casting for The Sopranos. Like 3-piece suits, pinstripes, Yankees jerseys. Like it was, and they're bringing us in 3 at a time. And this one guy, 3-piece pinstripe suit, hair slicked back. He looked like who played Tony Soprano? What's his name?
James Gandolfini.
Yeah, he looked exactly like him. And laying across the chairs were these little smocks, like elf costumes that we had to put on. And so the guy running the audition was like, "Okay, so come on in, and if you could just put on each one of these smocks." And the guy was like, "Well, you want me to put on one of these smocks?" And he was like, "Yeah, just go ahead." He was like, "You want me to put the smock on?" And he was like, "Yeah, just take off your jacket. Here, give me the jacket." And the guy was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." And he was like, "No, it's okay. You give me my jacket. You can leave it over here." And he was like, Okay. I'm going to take off my jacket, but I don't want anybody getting weird, but I got a thing." And I'm thinking like, this guy have like a colostomy bag or what? So he takes off his jacket, and he's got a fucking Beretta on his hip. Like, and in a holster. And we're all like, "What?" And he was like, "It's okay. I'm in the Teamsters. I'm allowed to have it. I didn't want to leave it in the car." I'm just gonna take it off. And so he takes the gun off his
Oh
belt
my
and he puts it on the
God.
table right behind the camera, takes his jacket off and dresses off like an elf. And we're all just like, what? So we had to do this audition with a literal gun pointed right at us. And we do the thing. And the guy's like, hey, you got to take a picture of me in this outfit. I'm friends with the commissioner. I got to take. I was like, what commissioner? Like, I think commissioner of what?
It's so
What?
vague.
Yeah.
The commissioner.
The commissioner. Take a picture. So I take a picture of this guy.
Batman?
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon.
Gordon?
So, but the part that pissed me off the most was like, we go through this and like we leave and I'm at the elevator for the, with the third guy in the audition on the way down. And I like look around and I'm like, hey, can we talk about how crazy that was? And he looks at me and goes, what do you mean? I was like, the guy had a gun. That was fucking crazy. And he was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. And I was just like, what world am I living in?
Yeah.
Like when you're looking for an ally to be like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
Come
And
on,
he was
that's
like,
crazy.
I didn't think it was crazy.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.